All right.
Or
Good.
English.
Set. What? Oh. So good after Saturday noon, wherever you are. Morgan just likes to laugh about me. And I sometimes wonder what you're thinking. I want to hear your internal dialogue about me. So one day we'll have to get that live. But what's up? Sorry, we're coming to you late. My name is Ethan. This is your Ambassador Town Hall. Having some slight technical difficulties on Jen's feed. She is all the way in Canada. They have much slower internet there in that country. So we'll do the best we can. That's a joke. We'll do the best we can to make sure that we get her. Oh, she heard that. Okay, cool. She might be a little frozen here and there, but we'll do the best we can to get Jen. You're welcome, Jen. So in the meantime, we'll still take a couple minutes. Say hello. Let us know that you're here and where you're from. Hi, Leaf. Good to see you. Yvonne is here. Hi, Yvonne. Hi, Deirdre.
You talking to me?
Jen, you're here. Your mouth moves about 10 minutes after we hear you, but it's fine. It's fine. You're like a Japanese kung fu movie. It's very exciting. Hey, Amanda. Hope you're well. Hi, Darcy.
Thank you.
Your smile is lovely. That's all we need. Hi, Cassie. How are you? Debbie from Natick. Everybody is here. Everybody is excited. Hello, Yulia. That's right, Elvon. I saw El Paso. Elvon. Yvonne's in El Paso. We got Nikki Bradley coming to us from the Dublins in the Irelands, which always sounds good, plural. Hey, Betsy. Not Alone Notes is here. And by the process of deduction, that must be Molly, because Morgan is here with us. Hey, Molly. I can't
Maybe
believe
it is me.
Darcy Howell. I can't believe the Morgan Rondinelli is on this live. Me neither. She's begged for months.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So, you guessed it. I knew it. We'll get started momentarily, just letting the room fill just a touch. How did he know? I know, right? Occasionally I get things right. Good math. I'm gonna screen cap that. I'm the worst at math. Absolutely the worst. Hey, Snow White in Portland. Love the A team. What's up, Nick? Caroline. Thanks, Ethans. Oh, you pluralized my name. I like that. You went with it. Okay. So we have a lot of people in the room. So let's get rolling. First of all, hello. Happy Saturday afternoon. If it's morning where you are, that's great. Happy morning to you. If you're in a different country like Jen, happy your country. My name is Ethan. I'm the National Ambassador for the International OCD Foundation, which means I have OCD. I like to talk about it every day, multiple times a day, all the time. So this is the Ambassador Town Hall. We're super excited about this because we're going to involve you as much as possible to get feedback from you and listen to what you want from us as your lead ambassadors, from us, from the IOCDF, how we can help you, how we can advocate for you, how we continue to advocate, all the things, all the stuff. So we will get to that very, very soon. So start getting your advocacy brains in process. We will be answering questions, Q&A, all the good stuff. But yes, we definitely want to hear from you on past things that we've done, past calls to action, initiatives, programs, and things that you want to see us do in the future or things that you would like to be a part of. Hey, Stacy Rosenthal Young, it's good to see you. Anything that you've had on your mind, now is the time. Also, of course, if you have any questions on OCD or related disorders, we're always happy to offer our lived experience to you. Chris is also a clinician, as you see by the fake letters that he put next to his name. So
just made him up.
Just made him up. Okay, last but not least, I'm keeping this interesting. Oh, last but not least, we will also be announcing we had a TikTok challenge. We'll be revealing the 5 TikTok challenge finalists. And then you, everyone watching, will vote live in real time. And the winner will receive a full online conference registration, which is really awesome. It's a 3-day online conference. Almost as good as the real thing, but it will be fantastic. We're working very hard behind the scenes to give you everything that we can possibly give you as close to the actual conference. So that will be the last 15 minutes of the stream. So stick around. We have a very special guest joining us to introduce those TikToks and announce the winner. So stay tuned. She's waiting behind the scenes. I I think that's a great point, Mary, and we'll discuss that as well, actually. So without further ado, let me just quickly rattle off some quick housekeeping. This town hall is intended to serve as educational content. It is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please be sure to work with your local provider or contact a local clinician. The International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline and should not be used if you're in distress or feel unsafe. If you are in a crisis or feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room, call 911, or call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 800-273-8255. I was pointing to the graphic that, yeah, there we are. Okay, cool. Very exciting. We'll work on our timing the next time. So as always, I always like to say, hey, Gina and Indiana, I always like to say that we like to create as safe a space as possible. This is a public forum. We know this. This will be recorded and live on the interwebs for all to enjoy for hundreds of years to come. So we know that, but with that, we always want to remain respectful and supportive and respectful. That's the same word I used the first time, but we want to remain respectful and supportive of one another and advocate and lift each other up throughout this process. So that's all I got on that front. Jen, I think your internet, I'm not going to curse it. You're looking good. Okay. Anyway, so with that in mind, let me announce some of the people that we have joining us today. Hey, Haley, hope you're well. So first, ladies first, of course, to my, nope, it's always reversed on this thing. That woman. We have Morgan Rondinelli is an IOCDF lead ambassador, mental health blogger at myocdvoice.com, which we will put a link to, and co-founder of Not Alone Notes, which if you don't know them, please go to their website, notalonenotes.org. You can also visit them on Instagram. Molly, feel free to post comments galore on all the ways they can find Not Alone Notes. It really is a fantastic organization. Molly and Morgan have worked very, very hard to continue building it up. We're very big supporters of theirs. When she's not busy talking about mental health, she's a graduate student in writing, a dancer, and a proud cat mom. She also has a tarantula. Why are you a proud tarantula mom?
Well, people are less excited about that one.
That sounds pretty exciting to me. Plus, if he gets pissy about not being, he hears things. I don't know. Anyway, so next we have my dear friend Jen Coward below us. Jen has her Bachelor's of Communication Studies from the University of Western Sydney. Really? I didn't know that. Like Sydney, Australia? Huh. Learn something every day.
Yep.
Jen has been living with OCD for the past 20 years. Jen has been interviewed for numerous newspapers, radio, and TV programs to promote mental health awareness. Jen shares experience of living with OCD with high school and college students and at mental health events. Jen has been a speaker on panels at the IOCDF conference since 2016. From 2018 to 2020, Jen has shared her story of living with OCD as part of Bell Let's Talk mental health campaign, which is very, very well known in her home country of Canada. Jen is the recipient of the Royal Ottawa Hospital's 2017 Inspiration Award in the personal category for her mental health advocacy work. Thank you, Jen, for being here. And you guys, just so you know, if you have questions about grassroots advocacy.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Jen is your woman to talk to. So what's that?
I think she said you can hear me.
Oh, this is gonna go well.
I said, yay, you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear. I feel like she should be floating on the moon. Anyway, I'm complimenting you. Stop talking. So Jen is your person to go to for grassroots. She really has done an amazing job of creating something where there isn't a lot going on and running with it. So thank you, Jen, for all you do and sharing your story. Last but not least, we have the ever adorable and wonderful and dear friend, Chris Tronsden. Chris suffered with severe OCD and body dysmorphic disorder from a young age until receiving specialized treatment for both disorders. No longer under the control of the disorders, Chris now works in the mental health field, treating OCD and BDD sufferers at the Gateway Institute in Southern California. He earned his bachelor's degree in human development and psychology at California State University, Long Beach, and earned a master's of science in counseling at California State University, Fullerton. You didn't like, what was wrong with Long Beach, Chris?
Fullerton, you get 2 licenses instead of 1. It's one of the best programs out here.
So that's why you have the 2 things. I get it. Okay, I'm with you now. Cool. In addition to being a treatment provider, Chris is also an advocate who has shared his story of recovery on the Montel Williams Show, Dr. Drew, Fox 5 San Diego, and speaking at IOCDF annual conferences. In addition, Chris is part of the IOCDF's BDD Special Interest Group and IOCDF Lead Ambassador, and currently serves as Vice President of OCD Southern California, an official affiliate of the International OCD Foundation. So Chris, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for putting this together.
Absolutely. So we are going to talk for the next hour, answer questions, all that good stuff, and then we will get to our TikTok challenge. Okay, sorry, getting texts and trying to read and keep up with everybody. So Jen has gone dark for a minute. She will join us hopefully momentarily. So let's first, I'm super curious, Morgan, what led you to advocacy and sort of where you are today?
Honestly, the blogging community. So I found out I had OCD. I kind of figured it out, was diagnosed at 19, even though I've had OCD my entire life. But I started reading all these blogs, and they were people telling their personal stories, which, like, research articles and evidence-based articles are useful, but also reading personal stories can help so much in a different way. And so I started reading all these blogs. Ellen, who's been to the conference, I was reading her blog, Ellen's OCD blog, and just a bunch of blogs. And I was like, wow, these personal stories made me feel less alone. And so, like, 3 weeks after I was diagnosed with OCD, I started my blog. And it's been almost like a public diary where I can track, like, my recovery. It's really cool to go back and read the old posts because I can track both my recovery and my journey as a writer. So it's been a pretty cool public diary to have. And then with Not Alone Notes, I wanted a way to reach other people who didn't know people with OCD. So I, through the conference, know now a lot of people with OCD. But I know there's people out there who are just being diagnosed, or they live in somewhere rural and they don't know anywhere else. And I was like, how can we reach them? So I love snail mail, and I figured I could send them a letter. So I put a Google form on my blog, just like on a whim, see what happens. And people started sending in their address and requesting notes. And now it's become much larger than that. We've sent over 1,000 letters. We're missing 2 states. We need 2 more states. I think it's Delaware, and I forget the other one. So if you live in Delaware and you have OCD, request a note. Because we need, I forget what the other one is, but we need 2 states. And so Molly and I and our whole team of writers, we write handwritten notes to people with OCD and trichotillomania and dermatillomania, or any BFRBs around the world, just to send a little encouraging message, because getting that handwritten note in the mail can really mean a lot.
I love that. It's such a great organization, and you're such an amazing advocate, and we love seeing you do all what you do. I mean, if you've never seen anybody run around a conference like Morgan and Molly, they have pens and they attack you. They stab you in the neck with the pen, and it stays there.
We stab you in the shoulder.
But they literally, like, they are all over the place, and nobody works harder at a conference than Morgan and Molly running around and getting their Not Alone notes out there. Quickly, Morgan, a follow-up question, if you will. Like, how has it been coming out with your story, and how has your experience been with, sharing and being vulnerable?
I'd say it's been overwhelmingly positive. I don't know if everyone knows this, but on my blog, I used to write under a pseudonym for like the first year-ish, just because I wasn't comfortable yet associating my name with it. It has my name on it now, but I did the becoming public, like, kind of in steps. Like, okay, I'll add my first name, now I'll add my last name. Now people know I live in Illinois, like, because I went to the Chicago walk. I'm obviously not going to give out my full address, but so I would say it's been overwhelmingly positive that people seem to connect well with my blog, and hopefully it's doing the same for what all those blogs did for me.
I love that. Thank you, Morgan. Hi, Jen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? So I'm going to ask all the questions, and then you can start talking. No, I would just like to hear the same from you. Like, what started your advocacy journey? What led you to become sort of outspoken and public, and how has the experience been?
What led me to it, I would say, is feeling really alone and isolated when I was at my worst, and feeling like nobody understood what I was going through, and finding that there wasn't the help that I needed easily. Like I could easily get into a doctor, but to actually get specialized treatment for OCD was not going to be an easy thing to happen. And I didn't understand why that was, and why couldn't I get treatment? You know, I was sick. When you're sick, you go to the doctor, you get therapy or whatever, and you get better. But I felt like I was at a disadvantage by having OCD because it wasn't something they could easily deal with or knew how to properly treat. So I started advocating mainly because I was frustrated and angry with our access to treatments, but also the first time I really spoke to someone else that had OCD, both of us just felt this huge relief to know that we weren't alone. And I realized I wasn't alone, and there were so many other people struggling. And if we could just talk about it more openly, we would find support within each other and also be able to advocate on our own behalf for the proper treatment and resources in our area. And for me, it's been such an amazing and encouraging experience to be able to know that, you know, starting with one person talking about it, and then it turns into a group, and then it turns into 100 and 200. We've actually had, you know, now in Canada, in the 8 years since I first went to the International OCD Foundation Conference, we actually have a residential treatment program available now. That was unheard of when I was trying to get help. And you just know it makes a difference, and that's important.
I appreciate it, Jen. And Mickey commented, that's why I'm here. I feel so alone, and COVID is making it worse. I think we can all relate to that, and many people can. And I've always said, and we've always said, you know, you don't need a mental illness to feel alone with COVID. It's very isolating and everything that's going on. So OCD or whatever you're dealing with on top of that is definitely triggered. I want to follow up with you, Jen. One thing that you did that really caught my eye early on, and just we became friends and stuff, that is you really, you know, paved a way in Canada. You really sort of you cleared the trees where there wasn't necessarily and made a path for advocacy and really put yourself out there. What was that experience like?
It was very exciting, very overwhelming, and very encouraging and empowering because, you know, we didn't have a lot of people speaking openly about it. And when I would get frustrated and not see change that I wanted, I would try and reach out to the media, and, you know, people kind of looked at me like I was strange, like, why would you want to talk about OCD with reporters and things? But to me, it was the perfect opportunity to highlight, educate on what OCD really is, and to show where the lack of resources was for treatment, and where our healthcare system was letting people with OCD down, mental health specifically. You know, I remember being on a waiting list for 6 to 8 months and being told that's not bad. You know, Canada, we really pride ourselves on our healthcare system, but there still are huge gaps and holes, and people are slipping through them. And that experience of being able to speak openly and also call out the flaws in the system so that we can make them better for the next people, the next patients going through it, was really important. And, you know, people say to me, you're in someone that puts a face to mental illness or OCD, you know, and I've had so many people before say, you don't look like you have OCD. And I said, you know, I say to them, well, what does someone with OCD look like? Are we supposed to wear a sign that says I have OCD? You know, we're all people trying to get through this life and enjoy it and stuff, and OCD robs us of that. And being able to speak out about it has even helped me in my own recovery so much.
Thank you, Jen. One thing I will say, Jen, and all of us, honestly, Morgan and Chris, you know, a lot of times we hear from people like, you know, how can I get involved and how can I advocate? And we definitely, the IOCDF and Peace of Mind and so many different organizations on Low Notes, we try to create as many opportunities as possible for people throughout the year to get involved and to advocate. But also, there's amazing ways you can do it yourself. I think social media has created an amazing platform to do that, where you can have a platform, you can have a personality, you can have your own voice and really Cassie's on here. She does amazing things with her Instagram account, a lot of low notes too. So I think there's amazing ways to advocate and really create, opportunities for yourself to sort of support and complement other things that we may be doing. So Jen is a great example of that. Last but not least, we have the wonderful, I almost said desirable. That's possibly true. The desirable Chris Stronsden. Chris, same question. I know a lot of your OCD struggle and journey. When did it click for you that you wanted to give back, and not only give back? Well, actually, were you already considering becoming a clinician beforehand? How did it all kind of manifest for you, and how's the experience been?
Yeah, no, I actually worked in the entertainment industry before I got really sick with OCD. Obviously, I've had OCD since a child, but I was working for a production company, and we were working on commercials and music videos and high budget films. And then I got really sick, and that's when everything went downhill. So I had always planned to go back into the industry once I got better. I never wanted to be a therapist at all. I had love and respect, obviously, for my clinician and those doing the work that I did. How I actually got into advocacy was kind of a fluke. I had finished up with treatment, and my psychiatrist actually reached out to me about 3 or 4 days after I finished treatment and said that the Montel Williams show had reached out to him, and they were going to do an episode on obsessive compulsive disorder and body dysmorphic disorder and related disorders. Would I be interested? And obviously I worked in the entertainment field, and I know things move pretty quickly, but I had assumed I have 2-3 weeks to kind of think about it. So I talked with my mom. They wanted my mom to go on the show as well. And we kind of talked about it. And we're like, sure, we'll do it. We're like, great. We're going to put you on a plane tomorrow and you'll be in New York. And it's like, oh my God. So in retrospect, it's probably better because I didn't have time to psych myself out. I'd always been behind the camera. So my mom and I flew out. We did the Montel Williams show. They actually had me back on a second time. And then from there, I did Dr. Drew and a couple other television shows and newspapers. And I still didn't plan on being an advocate, but actually I got a lot of messages on Facebook from people all around the country, all around the world. I skin picked, I had panic attacks, had a lot of different stuff going on at that time. And people were just reaching out and saying they could relate. And that was my first taste of advocacy. The International OCD Foundation at the time had a speakers bureau. And I kind of reached out and said, look, I've been sharing my story. Is there any opportunities through IOCDF? And at the time, I believe only Liz McInville and myself, well, at the time I wasn't even on it, but Liz McInville was the only person on the Speakers Bureau that had OCD. Most of the speakers were clinician. Maybe Jeff Bell was the other one. I guess I said something. Jen was like, peace, gotta go. She's like, I don't want to hear him talk anymore. But no, so I was on the Speakers Bureau for the International OCD Foundation, which led me to speak at the conference. And I was traveling different places in the United States, educating people on OCD from a personal view. And after I kind of got started and was getting responses back, I went back into the entertainment industry. And obviously I love it, still work in it. But there was something that was kind of feeding my soul by doing advocacy work. And it felt so much deeper. And I ended up kind of just advocating from there on out in different ways, both through media and local events and national events. The way I became a therapist was I was doing all this advocacy work, and constantly people were calling me, and I was having these great connections, talking to different loved ones with OCD, and they'd get on the phone, they'd be like, great, now what do I do? And I'm like, oh, go find a therapist. And, naively, as Jen was saying, we think there's 7 on every corner. And I'd have a lot of clients or people I was talking to about their stories, and they could not find treatment. And so I just decided to kind of go to school on the side as I was working on camera entertainment reporter, and eventually just kind of kept going, kept getting degrees, and finally started working in the field and realized that this was a passion of mine. And a lot of events in Hollywood are in the weekends or nights, and therapy is usually during the day. And I'm single, don't have a family, so it kind of worked out. But you actually said something, Ethan, at the ambassadors meeting last year at the IOCDF, and you kind of phrased why I do advocacy much more eloquently than I ever did in a good sentence. And what you said in that meeting was just basically that for you, doing advocacy made sense of your struggle. It made sense of all the pain you went through. And I will say that's true. I feel very healed because of the advocacy work I do. And I think if I never went into the advocacy field, I'd still be living a life, but I don't know if I'd have that healing from the pain. So that's how it kind of all became 180. So
thank you, Chris. And you're not a Matthew. I was just going to say that. So I definitely first of all, I want to actually follow up with Chris. But if you're viewing, thank you for being here. If you have questions for us, please go ahead and start populating the thread with questions. We'd love to answer your questions, whether about advocacy or OCD, whatever you want to talk about. We are here for you, and we also want to hear from you about what we can do better to serve the community and serve you. So also quickly, I want to just shout out a penny for your intrusive thoughts. I was talking about that account before. That's Cassie and Darcy. Definitely check them out on Instagram. They're awesome. And also, Jeff mentioned that you and your mother were the keynote in 2011.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you're asking.
No, go ahead.
No, that was an incredible experience. You know, I was touched because obviously I had been doing advocacy for the International OCD Foundation for a while, but I always kind of felt like the small fry. Like the IOCDF has always been very near and dear to my heart because, like most people probably watching this, I went through years of just not knowing what I had, bad therapy, misdiagnosis. So it wasn't until my mom actually found the IOCDF that I was even able to get help. And so I was doing advocacy, and you know, I knew the IOCDF knew who I was, but I didn't know they really knew who I was. And so I'll never forget, I was in the car in LA, leaving, I think, an event or something, and I got a call from them, and I was talking to them, and they asked on the phone if I'd be interested in being in the keynote and if my mom would be interested in being involved. And I still remember where I was and the day and everything. And so that was a super honor. My mom and I went through hell together, and so being able to advocate with her at times, both in your incredible documentary as well as being the keynote for 2011 in San Diego, I think that's also been very healing, just to be able to get people a mom's perspective and what parents go through and what worked in our relationship and what struggles we had. But yeah, that was an incredible experience speaking, very healing and amazing. And I still am honored that they asked me. And you were the keynote. I saw you in LA. I remember that. You were great.
Thank you. You were a teen. Yeah, I was actually in residential when you and your mom were keynote. So that was the one year I missed the conference.
I still take it personal, and I still am angry to this day.
You should be. And I'll just follow real quick because I want to get to Morgan and Jen some more. Actually, Phyllis just commented, Chris and his mom, Liz, were amazing keynote speakers. Everything they said resonated with Eric and me. So touching people. What was it like? Liz went through a similar trajectory, Liz Mackingville, with her advocacy. She was kind of thrust in the national spotlight sort of instantly and didn't really systematically work her way like Morgan. What was your experience like with that, sort of like coming out of treatment and boom, being on national TV?
You know, I love Liz, and we've talked before, and I'll never forget, you know, she did an interview with Barbara Walters, and I don't like how they edit it together. I don't think she does. I won't speak for her, but I know that she had a great experience and she's amazing. She's done a lot of media, but that was my fear was, you know, I had intrusive thoughts about harm and stuff and how are they going to exploit it? I was super lucky, man. I still to this day have so much love and respect for Montel Williams and for Dr. Drew, who was a keynote at the IOCDF. Montel Williams sat down with myself and like my mom and the other individuals speaking on OCD, BDD, and related disorders, and really wanted to get to know us before we started. What should I not ask? What should I ask? And he was really respectful, and then called me back to be on it a second time. And same thing, like, you know, I want an update. I don't want to say the wrong things. Dr. Drew seemed very knowledgeable. We talked as well backstage before going on the show. So I was very fortunate that the hosts and the producers that I worked with were absolutely respectful. I don't know if Jeff Szymanski remembers this, but we did the Fox San Diego together with my mom, he and I, in San Diego before the conference, and they were super great. And so I work in media. I know how sometimes it can be poor, but I was very fortunate with the experiences I had. It was overwhelming. And at the same time, it ended up working out because it didn't give me a chance to second guess it. I think, like Morgan said, I never obviously did a pseudonym, but I don't know if I would have came out just because of the fact that at the time, mental health still had so much stigma, and I didn't know if it was going to affect my job. And I was starting to do on-camera stuff, and I didn't want to be fired or made fun of or something. So I was pretty fortunate. I did have some people say nasty comments and make fun of me and stuff like that. I remember when I was on Dr. Drew, some audience member was like laughing at me during the commercial. I still hate them to this day, but most of my experience has been pretty positive, so I've been fortunate.
No, it's true. Like, and I'll talk to Jen and Morgan in a sec about this. Like, also me being an actor, or was an actor, I write, direct, produce now, and do a lot of advocacy. Obviously, has become sort of my heart and soul. But when I got better and went out to LA and started acting, like I remember the more I got in advocacy, the more I would talk to friends or family, and they would be like, "Oh, you probably shouldn't talk about X." And so like as I got more into my story, I remember having a conversation with my parents, and they were like, "Listen, it's okay to tell your story, but I really wouldn't mention the psychiatric hospitals you were in, because that makes you sound really, really, kind of crazy, and you don't need that, especially as a public figure." And I said, "But if I don't talk about it, who's going to talk about it?" It was like never a doubt in my mind. Like I didn't care. It was just like the cause was more important. And so like, I don't know. I just needed to bring light to, I felt I needed to bring light to a situation where OCD can be that severe and be misdiagnosed and all this stuff. And it was an important part of my story. And I honestly have never had any negative experiences from me coming out as detailed as I have and stay as transparent as I have, other than dating was a little weird for a while when, they Google me and they're like, "You were in a psych hospital?" I'm like, yeah, it's a good thing. It's a new bar downtown. It's very popular. No, but other than that, no, in all seriousness, like, it's only been positive. Morgan, you're a reader. Do you have any books? Do you recommend any good books for videos on OCD or videos on OCD? Brian Olson asked that at 2:32 p.m.
Yeah, I saw Cassie commented John Hirschfield's books are great. Dr. Z's books are great. They're kind of like an ACT focus. Videos, Catlin Hashway has a YouTube channel. That's pretty great. John Grayson, all the Johns have really good books.
Yeah, John Grayson's Freedom from OCD is probably one of the best books out there. Yeah, is out there. Jen, do you have any favorites?
I like Dr. Jonathan Grayson's Freedom from Obsessive Compulsive Disorder.
Don't buy it in Canada though, because their books are more expensive. You always see the double price. Sorry, go ahead.
More of like a person.
Oh, I did it. I shouldn't have said anything. Sorry, Jen.
For more of a personal story, I always liked Jeff Rewind, Replay, Repeat.
Yeah, Jeff Bell's Rewind, Replay, Repeat. It's a great book, Brian. Chris, any recommendations?
Yeah, you know what? I swear he's not paying me this. I worked with a perfectionist recently, and Jeff Szymanski wrote a book, The Perfectionist Handbook. So I have that in my office, and I recommend it. It's a really, really good book. I saw him talk about it at the conference when it came out. So I've been utilizing that book for any of my perfectionists. I really like the personal stories as well. I think Jeff Bell's books are great. Those were the ones that my mom would read to me when I'd go up to treatment. So I think just that personal story really, really helped. So for personal stories, I think that's a really good book. I have Perfectionism, Jeff Szymanski's book, and then all the books mentioned. I run a family and loved ones OCD support group monthly with my mom and some other clinicians, and we always recommend John Hirschfield's book about loving a family member with OCD. So I think that's one of the best for family members for sure out there.
Thanks, Chris. Brian, hopefully that helps. You can also access all the resources on iocdf.org and peaceofmind.com. There's lots and lots of good options and choices to read and pick from. Robert, I see your question. I'm going to get to it in one sec. So don't think I am skipping you, or think that. I can live with the uncertainty. Either way, we're good.
Another book, though. Molly and I have a coloring book.
No. Well, I forgot because it hasn't come in the mail yet. No, tell us about your coloring book.
Okay, it's like an exposure coloring book / blog. So Molly drew all these pictures. So there's like a toilet, an empty grade card, a playground, a car on a road, and then I wrote a blog post to go with each one. And so you can like color in, like I got an F in math, and then hang it above your desk while you're studying. That can be like an exposure coloring book.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see it. So check out, where can they go to notalonenuts.com to check it out?
Notalonenuts.org. Yeah.
Don't go to .com. Yeah.
It's called Color Your Fears. It's
Color
on
Your
Amazon.
Fears. Awesome. I love that. Victoria says, so cool, Chris. I'm an OCD sufferer who is starting out in the film and TV industry. I'm studying in LA next spring before I graduate. So that's very cool. Yvonne, we have multiple live streams. Yvonne asked, can you do these live chats weekly? We actually host multiple live streams every week. If you go to the IOCD Facebook or YouTube channels, you will see them playlisted and you can watch. And we're planning lots and lots of content moving forward as always as well. So that's very cool. Oh, apparently they posted a blog that I wrote called From Couch to Keynote, basically my journey from how I got off the couch and eventually gave a keynote. We'll get to, a lot of people are asking some great questions on advocacy. We'll get to them. Also, Caroline at the bottom at 2:41 p.m. just posted the link to Color Your Fears. So thank you, Caroline, for that. Yes, Chrissy Hodges has a great memoir too. What's the name? Pure O, the invisible side of OCD. Is that what it's called? Something like that?
Something really close to that.
Yeah, it's very close to that. It's very excellent, especially for intrusive thoughts and things like that. Let me quickly, I'll turn this to Chris because it's more of a clinical question. Although I like to play doctor lots of times. Robert Benitez at 2:34 p.m. Can OCD make you paranoid? I was reading on schizophrenia, and now I've been paranoid, like a feeling I am being watched and have intrusive images of a camera in home, but I don't believe the thought, I just question them.
Yeah, so that's a common thing that a lot of people ask. So yes, there can be a paranoia element to OCD. So for instance, in my own experience, one of my fears was getting poisoned by water. And so I remember one time making somebody in the neighborhood angry and thinking they're going to poison my water and constantly sniffing it and smelling and being paranoid about it. There is a huge distinction, however, between obsessive compulsive disorder, having intrusive thoughts around paranoia, versus schizophrenia. So somebody with schizophrenia is going to have hallucinations. They can be audio, they can be visual. Versus somebody with OCD may have some anxiety that creates some panic, some paranoia, some uncertainty. So I see them misdiagnosed for people that are not experts in the OCD field. Unfortunately, I was misdiagnosed as schizophrenia when I told them that I had intrusive thoughts in my head. I've worked with clients with OCD and schizophrenia. It's very different. They have different voices that they hear in their head. A lot of them are male or female. Sound different, etc. So one big fear, though, a lot of people with OCD have is that they have more than OCD. It's almost like OCD isn't good enough. Maybe they're going to have schizophrenia or they're something else as well. And so often, if somebody comes in constantly seeking reassurance, do I have schizophrenia? I'm paranoid. The first session, I'll do some basic, I'll go through the DSM and kind of go through the basic diagnostic criteria for each. And if they don't match anything for schizophrenia, then I'll give them the assurance once that it's OCD causing these fears and these thoughts. I won't give continued reassurance, obviously, as well, but they're very, very different. Having paranoia and uncertainty around something versus actually having different types of paranoia that schizophrenia have. So a lot of times in schizophrenia, it's the government is out to get me. They've wiretapped all of my phones. They can hear my thoughts. They have a chip in my head. It's very grandiose, versus someone with OCD has a fear, and paranoia can kind of be tapped into that. So I hope that answers it. If he has any more questions, I can definitely answer that as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. Just quickly scanning over all the comments. I want to ask, I'm going to throw this out to Jen, since she kind of did this in many ways. Real quick, Cassie of A Penny for Your Intrusive Thoughts said, I started anonymously, and it was great because I realized I could help so many people without even sharing my name. And that is true. I remember you recently, I think you've recently shared your name, which is why I didn't share it at the beginning. I was like, yeah, she has it at the website. And then she shared it. But yes, I'm out of the loop. I'm old and barely know where I am, let alone what's going on. Jen, Del at 2:37 p.m. says, I would like to spread more knowledge and make the difference in the Netherlands. How could I do this? Now, I know, of course, you're not in the Netherlands, so you don't have the intimate insight into the Netherlands. But well, first of all, I can give Del some direction as well as far as the IOCDF is concerned. But can you speak a little bit more to how you made inroads in your own area where there wasn't a big presence already?
Yeah, so how I started really to get into advocacy is knowing there wasn't a lot of resources in my area. I started contacting local mental health affiliates, like the Canadian Mental Health Association, and just explaining who I was and how I wanted to help them. And then through there, they would have me come and speak to support groups for their family members who have mental
Jen, if you can hear me, you're Oh, there you are. Oh, and she's gone, but she's going to pop right back. You still with us, Jen? Houston, come in, Houston. No,
Yes.
sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, awesome. Keep going.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then from some of the contacts at the mental health organizations, they gave me some suggestions of other organizations and people looking for some help on, kind of sharing personal stories. And I also started contacting like local media outlets in my area for when things like OCD Awareness Week was coming up. I thought, okay, let's put a face to OCD and let's get the conversation going out there. And almost right away, I had a lot of feedback from locally from organizations, news organizations, and then even in some of the bigger cities close by. And then that's how I ended up kind of just started small. And then from, someone would say, you should contact this person or I'll have them contact you because, next month is Bell Let's Talk and they should do a story about OCD. So it was really just kind of trying to get my information out there and let them know that I wanted to talk about what I'd gone through. And always people were very receptive because they knew someone struggling with OCD or similar or with any kind of mental health element. And so I tried to really kind of key into when we had OCD Awareness Week coming up or here in Canada, Bell Let's Talk Day. And, it does feel weird calling up a newspaper and saying, hey, my name is Jen. I have OCD. I'd like to talk about it. But right away, people are like, okay, well, what specifically do you want to talk about? What's the angle? What's the story? And from there, it would just snowball into then other organizations contacting me, getting involved in talking in schools as part of mental health programs, and then on a national platform like Let's Talk. It doesn't happen like overnight, but within a year or two, I was doing a lot more speaking engagements and a lot more media appearances, both on radio, television, and in the newspaper. So I would just say, really start contacting locally who you have and see if they aren't interested specifically, they can probably point you in the right direction. But you'd be surprised. There's going to be interest, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And you're definitely not alone, Dael. We can support you. So Jess, if you want to put the link to the Global Partners link just for anybody that might not be in the US that's looking, yep, or Jeff can do it, or Jeff did it. So they have a Global Partners. You can read about all their global partners and who they are. Dael, specifically for you, the Netherlands Global Partner, I'll spell it out for you because I can't leave a comment. It's dwang.eu. So DWANG.eu. That is the Netherlands Global Partner. And also never hesitate to email the foundation at info@iocdf.org. We're always happy to give you insight and talking points and factoids and all kinds of information that you can use to help spread awareness. And also, I mean, Chris, there's all, what's interesting is there's multiple ways to advocate. Like Chris can speak to this idea of like, you don't necessarily have to go to the news. Like he and his mom started support groups or just like getting in touch with the community and starting small. Right, Chris?
Yeah, we were fortunate, like Jen, last year for our OCD Awareness Week, I'm vice president of OCD Southern California, and we actually had, I believe it was, Fox LA, Fox Channel 11 LA come out to our LA location for our OCD Awareness Community event. And one of our board members, Dr. Jenny Yip, spoke with them and got some coverage on that. And like I said earlier, Jeff and I were able to speak before the conference, and that's great too. One other side of advocacy that I love is the more like on the grounds community stuff. So my mom and I run a support group. We have about 60 to 70 families that show up each month pre-COVID. So we've had to obviously move it virtual, but we'll be back. But we keep having to expand it. And we have like 60 to 70 families from all over Southern California come out each month. And so offering free sources as well. And just like Jen, speaking at schools. I've spoke at schools, spoke at locally counseling centers that say we keep getting patients with OCD but don't know how to treat them. So there's definitely on the ground stuff you could do. I think that's the biggest thing. I know Ethan, obviously everything Morgan's doing, Jen, Liz, etc., Jeff Bell. Sometimes people get intimidated because they see us doing stuff on a large scale. But man, advocacy is so much more than that. There are things that you could be doing in your community, with your friends, with your family, even just sharing that you have it on your personal social media, even if it's 10 of your friends as well. So I always tell people, don't get intimidated. You can advocate on any level that you'd like, whatever is comfortable for you. And you may get more comfortable as time progresses as well.
Morgan, any thoughts?
Yeah, I have so many thoughts on that where...
Just give me three. I've heard, yeah.
Yeah. So I started by texting a few of my best friends about having OCD. And then I posted on my social media that I have OCD to all my friends. And then I put my name on my blog. So there's your three. So it kind of gradually being more public. And I think it's also okay if you never become super public. If you remain anonymous, you can totally do so much with that as well.
Yeah, that's Nikki wrote above, our friend in Ireland, I wanted to be an advocate, but OCD gets in the way. And I think it's important to understand, and I made this realization, actually, I remember exactly in 2014, that, the word advocate can mean many, many things. It doesn't have to mean us being on here having this conversation with you. And I just remember I went to the OCDI at Christmas time to spend time with the folks in residential there, because I was there during Christmas and it was really hard. So I remember being alone, and I was talking to this one girl, and she told me this incredibly inspiring story about her life, and then followed that with, I hope to be an advocate one day. And I was like, oh my God, you just advocated. It's like just telling your story and connecting with somebody, and sharing is advocacy at its simplest form. And so even for those of you that are on this thread and leaving comments of support, you're advocating. Nikki, you've been on so many of these streams and given great advice, or even just insight into your own life. And then that is advocating. People read that, they feel something, they experience it, an emotion and a thought. And so there's all kinds of levels of advocating. So we want to just gauge what advocacy means. And it's really just telling our stories and making connections. Quickly, we'll post this right now. Malia asked about the online conference and how you can register. So Jess, if you want to, either, I guess, the 2:39 p.m. comment of your own with the online. So if you go to onlineocdconference.org, they will have all of the conference registration information to register. It's not coming up, but just help. No. But for those of you that are on the stream, again, it's onlineocdconference.org. There you can find all the information about the online OCD conference that we'll be having. There you go. Thank you, Jess. That we'll be having. Go there. That has all your info. Actually, Cassie, Brian, your question about books, Cassie did bring up, we have one more lead ambassador. These are your three lead ambassadors. We have a fourth, Shala Nicely, who's an amazing advocate, also a keynote speaker in 2013, as well as a wonderful clinician. She wrote a book called Fred is in the Refrigerator. Is really, really great book. So we recommend that as well. Yes, continuing on. Also, Yulia recommended Life and Rewind by Dr. Janicki and Ed Zine. That is also a very, very touching and meaningful story. Yes, Penny, thank you, Penny, for Zeus's thoughts. Chrissy's book is Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. Yulia also recommended Getting Over. See, Yulia's advocating right now, by the way. This is advocacy, right? Brian asked a question, what books? Yulia, Cassie, and Darcy, they're all like, here are a bunch of books. We're here to support you. I love this. This is always very exciting. At 2:43 p.m., Nicholas asked, is there a link between OCD and procrastination? That's a great question. Let's answer this from a lived experience perspective first. Morgan, you relate to this. What do you think? No, I'm kidding. What is...
I was exactly on time. Yeah, for me, it mostly impacted school. So I was very focused on school, but I was never early. I was always the last to finish tests because I was doing every math problem twice or checking it a third time. Or our reading took me forever because I would just reread the same sentence. I didn't believe I understood it. So it took me about an hour to read 10 pages of a textbook, I think was about my average. So it might look on the outside like I was procrastinating because it took me hours and hours and hours to do my homework or whatever it was. Someone mentioned getting ready for bed. That was another thing for me. It would take me over an hour to get ready for bed because I'm doing all these rituals like knocking on wood to keep my family from dying, or brushing my teeth because I'm afraid I ate sugar more than you should. You should brush your teeth. But the IOCDF likes brushing teeth.
Yeah.
Anyway, so on the outside, it might look like I'm procrastinating, but really it's just because I'm doing rituals, or I am procrastinating and it's avoidance is the other side of it, where I would avoid starting my homework for hours and hours because I knew it was going to be a huge ordeal and it would take hours and hours. So then you avoid for hours and it takes hours, and it's just, yeah, for sure.
So Chris, thank you, Morgan. I appreciate it. So Chris, is it fair to say that it's not so much a link, that is procrastination is an effect or a byproduct of obsessions and compulsions?
Absolutely. The IOCDF I believe it was IOCDF, had a really good article that they reposted, and it was about OCD not only being a thought disorder, it's also a feeling disorder. And what happens for most of us is we have what's called homeostasis, and that's our general kind of relaxed state. And what happens, like Morgan pointed out with lived experience, is that somebody goes to do some kind of event. It could be cleaning their room, showering, reading, etc. And what happens is it brings on a sense of anxiety, tightness, irritability, whatever kind of negative emotion comes up for that. And then people will be on their phones or they'll be doing something. And the thought of them going and doing that activity, like in Morgan's example of reading, there's so much angst and anxiety and anticipatory anxiety about reading that it becomes easier to stay in that relaxed state. So people then put it off and avoid it. And what I see with a lot of my clients is what happens is they don't end up getting something done until that pure adrenaline overrides that fear. So they have a paper that's due in 15 minutes, so they're freaking it out, or they have they have to make a phone call or they have to go and do their taxes because they're getting letters from the IRS at a client that kept putting them off because of anxiety around making mistakes. And so finally with the IRS sending them letters, and just that pure adrenaline push through that fear so that they could get it done. So what I noticed with most of my clients is once they do get to a point that they have OCD at bay and they're working through the program and they're doing really well, that procrastination starts to fade out. Unfortunately, sometimes it becomes a habit, and they need to work on healthy behavioral techniques to get back at addressing things right away versus putting it off. But there isn't like a procrastination gene that somebody has that we're given with OCD.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, thank you. I'm looking for. Sorry, I lost my place in the comment queue. It shifts all the time, so apologies. More book recommendations are coming in, so please take a look at the thread. Phyllis, thank you very much for the very kind words. I sincerely appreciate that. Also, the IOCDF has posted a link to Chris and his mother's keynote speech from 2011. If you'd like to check out Chris and his mom in action, please follow that link at any time and check out his keynote. It's very, very powerful. Malia represents turtles. This is literally like, we should keep this stream for all the book recommendations.
Yeah, I have a few fiction ones that people were mentioning and that they hadn't. If you want fiction,
go ahead.
So Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. There's Every Last Word by Tamara Stone, and Finding Perfect by Ellie Swartz. They're all fiction. I've read them all. They're great.
Awesome. Thank you, Morgan. Mickey, at 2:47 p.m., what would you suggest for leaving the house during this pandemic? I tried to go on a bike ride, but had a massive panic attack. Jen, do you want to answer Mickey's question? Mickey, I think she's judging you. Jen, if you can hear, you're not coming through. You might want to reset and refresh. Sorry about that, Jen. But we will still answer your question, Mickey. We'll continue. Let's start with Chris, and we'll head over to Morgan. And Jen, if you pop back in and out, we'll conclude with you, Chris.
Yeah, it's very difficult because obviously, as a clinician, we've never gone through this before, where there's actually like a real fear to some of the exposures that the clients had been asked to do previously. I'm very, very a big advocate on following what the CDC and World Health Organization is advising. And the good thing is they have criteria on there of ways to keep ourselves safe when leaving the house. There are so much other things that happen when we keep ourselves in the house and we don't get exercise, we don't get the fresh air, we don't get sunlight. And so leaving the house and doing a bike ride, we know that exercise provides positive experiences for our mental health. We release endorphins and we burn off some of that anxiety hormones that get produced during OCD and anxiety. So what I would suggest for somebody is to, see the value in the bike ride and what that will provide for them, so they see value in leaving the house. Now, one thing I also believe in is if an exposure such as leaving the house and going on a bike ride creates a massive panic attack, remember, you can always kind of do exposure therapy in smaller steps. So maybe it's literally just standing outside your front door for 15 minutes a day until that becomes okay, and then walking to the mailbox, and then walking a little bit around your block, and then taking your bike out in front of your house and riding it around in your street, and working up to an actual bike ride. So I think sometimes people want to jump straight to the bike ride. It's too much, so they give it up. You can definitely move in small steps.
Jen, are you back with us?
Yes, I am with you.
Awesome. So how have you dealt with the pandemic?
Okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah, absolutely. So in regards to Mickey's question, sort of how have you dealt with the pandemic, with fear around going to do things, and what are your suggestions for Mickey?
I actually was doing what Chris had suggested, because it was, when you think of something as a whole, like I'm going to go out and go grocery shopping, it's very intimidating when you're thinking of the whole thing. So I just was able to, when I was really concerned about getting COVID, we take all the precautions that we should be, with washing our hands and keeping distance. But I would say, okay, I'm getting to my car right now. I'm in my car. Everything's okay. I can get to the next step, which is the store. And you do feel your anxiety rise. You feel that kind of fight or flight response. But I just tried to use the tools that I've learned through therapy to say, okay, this is my OCD now telling me that it's dangerous. I'm taking the precautions I need. The next step that I need to get to is I need to get out of my car. And just try to look at each little step that I was taking as a victory, and realizing that as I'm doing that, I'm gaining more confidence, and I'm able to kind of push back and fight back from my OCD. It's a lot easier breaking it up into little steps and doing it than trying to look at it as one big whole thing that you're doing.
That's awesome, Jen. Morgan, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, for me, something I'll add is I really like rewarding myself. So if going to the grocery store is really stressful, and maybe a bike ride is a reward, but if it's something like going to the grocery store, then maybe on the way home, I'll swing to the library for their curbside pickup of my books. And that way you are kind of validating yourself and telling yourself you did a good job and using a reward system.
That's awesome. And the last thing I'll add, Mickey, and this is a bit of an acceptance commitment therapy approach, but sort of being okay, not being okay, and not necessarily making about the feelings. I know that panic attacks can feel terrible. I have them all the time, but they're not dangerous. They just feel really scary and terrifying. So, maybe this idea of being willing to maybe have discomfort or have a panic attack, or even expect that might happen, and sort of taking on this role of being okay with those uncomfortable feelings and trying to bike ride anyway, and not use the panic attack as a cue, which a panic attack equals don't bike ride, right? Because there's so much discomfort around everything that we're doing, going to the grocery store, going outside, when somebody walks by us, whatever it is, it's all extremely uncomfortable. So it's this idea of how can we live with discomfort? How can we experience these feelings and do things that are important to us anyway? So thank you, Mickey, for the question. I appreciate it. Tina quickly asked, yes, there is absolutely need for advocacy in South Bay area. If you want to email info@iocdf.org, we can definitely have a conversation with you about that. Betsy Ritchie asks, is there anyone advocating for people over 50 years old? That's a great question. And I don't know if you mean is there anyone can you do it if you're over 50, or is anybody advocating for that population? I think that's a great question. We definitely know advocates that are in that age range. I'm not too far away from that, so I will be there advocating. But I wonder, I guess my follow-up question to you, Betsy, is are you feeling like a lot of the advocacy that you're hearing or the speeches or the town halls are not speaking to you or not resonating with you? They're not directed at you. Are you feeling left out of the conversation a little bit? And do you feel that your needs might be different? I'm not saying you're over 50, there's nothing wrong with it, but are you saying that your needs are a little bit different? I can tell you that my dear friend Valerie Andrews, who is in her early 60s, she appears in my documentary. She talks about her needs as an OCD sufferer are different than, and I don't mean the therapy, I mean like the advocacy role is very different than those of people like Morgan's age, 12 or 13, however old Morgan is. And that's partly due to the time that they grew up. Valerie will tell you in her story, in her documentary, that 40 years ago, the level of stigmatization around OCD and mental health, especially in her case in the Black community, this idea of pray it away, this idea of we don't talk about those things, we're still highly stigmatized, but however bad it is now, it was 1,000 times worse then. And so she feels like she needs to be talked to a little bit differently. And I'm curious if that's the question, if that's the case for you. If you do answer my question, I don't get down to it the rest of today, please email us. And we'd love to talk further about that, because that's a really important question. Quickly, Mickey said, where can I find support groups online? I know that Morgan and Jen might have some quick ones. Is through the IOCDF Health Unlocked. I don't know if we have a link to it or a link in the stream, but it's a massive online OCD community where people are asking questions and supporting each other. Also, No CD, which is an app available for free, both in the Apple Store and Google Play. They have a massive, robust OCD community, very similar, answer questions, support each other. There's also lots of great ERP tools, as well as they have live teletherapy if you're in specific states. So I would definitely recommend that. There are also some really great Facebook support groups online. Morgan and Jen and Chris, if you have some suggestions.
One of my favorites is Kimberly Quinlan, CBT School Campus. It's very positive. It's not reassurance focused. It's just very compassionate and a really great group of people.
Yeah, I was going to say the young adult track from the International OCD Foundation, we started a support group on Facebook for OCD. It's OCD support group for young adults. And so that's something that came out of the different young adult talks over the years, and we keep giving it out each year at the conference. So that's one that's really good. Also, Wendy Mueller, she has a good, I'm going to really quick look at the link, but she has a really good support group that she does with Dr. Claiborne. So if you go to groups.io, so just groups.io /OCD support chats, that's the one that Wendy Mueller does with Dr. Claiborne. So I like that one as well.
Jen, any preferences on your end?
There's a lot of great Facebook groups, and they're the ones I already mentioned are ones I definitely would recommend. For over 50 specifically, I don't know a lot, but I know Shannon Shaw is in that age group, but he has a Facebook page that he often puts like encouraging messages and things like that on. I always, even I'm under 50, and I find sometimes being able to see those messages on a daily basis is really helpful.
Absolutely. I'm reading down the stream, and yeah, if you can actually go to, thank you, Chris just posted a link, Jess, if you want to grab that, for OCD support. There are both in person and online support groups right now. Obviously, virtual support groups is the thing to do. So Facebook, Instagram, there's some great people to follow, as well as support. And that's the other thing, by the way, is because everything is virtual right now, I know a lot of support groups that are in a specific area, but they'll let anybody come into it for support because everybody needs support. So, if there's a support group, I think, Mickey, you asked the question, you said you live in a rural area. If you find a support group that's maybe in a city, that's near you, chances are they've gone virtual, and chances are they'd be happy to let you join in. So you can always feel free to shoot them an email, and we'd also be happy to connect you. So again, shoot us with an email. Don't shoot us, but just send us an email, and we'll happy to help you out. Some more conversation on age. Debbie Rittner said, I'm an advocate and I'm 62 and a half years old. So thank you, Debbie. And Betsy did continue follow-up. She said anyone advocating for the age group over 50-year-old people have had little support growing up, which is what sort of we touched on. And I think that's a great idea, Betsy. I don't know. I could be wrong. I know of late we probably haven't done a town hall specifically supporting that age group and above. And I think that's definitely something we should add to the conversation and the schedule. So I appreciate you bringing that up. We'll make a note of it, and hopefully you will see it in upcoming programming. Definitely. Let's see here. Still going down. There's great. So we are. We're at the hour mark, coming up on 3:15. Let me just throw out that if you're out of questions, should we? Yeah, quickly before we're going to go to the TikTok contest very shortly. But hi Mike, good to see you. If anybody has suggestions, so this was a great suggestion, can you do programming specifically focused on OCD sufferers over the age of 50? If anybody else has suggestions, please comment. Let us know what you'd like to hear, what you'd like to see us do, whether it's virtual programming, when it's live programming, whether it's social media, regardless of what it is, please let us know. There's definitely a lot of parents, including Space, but the over 50 need support. Jeff Shemansky, who's the executive director of the IOCDF, absolutely agrees with you, so we'll put that on the docket. Nikki Bradley says, I'm always putting things up about OCD on Facebook. It's very disheartening as I make a huge effort to do this and I barely get any response. I used to work in media and have had great ideas for documentaries on OCD, but I just can't seem to do it. It's a process, Nikki, and you can email me and we can talk more about that as well, but thank you. I know some, don't forget Mary's question. Yes, about autistic. We actually, Mary Wilson, I think your last name is Wilson, Mary. You've been on a few times, so thank you very much. I know you had a question about OCD and autism. We're actually scheduling a autism spectrum disorder and comorbid ASD OCD town hall that will be most likely at the end of July. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Also, if you go to Peace of Mind's Facebook or YouTube, they recently did a live stream on ASD and OCD. I don't remember the name of it or who the guest was, but it was in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So if you want to scope out their live streams, they have got that as well. But it is definitely an important conversation. Debbie Rittner, I've been getting my one-woman show out in small modules for use in webinars. I love that. So we're coming up at 3:15. We got time for a few more questions. I saw your brilliant streams of moral scrupulosity. Can you make a stream about religious scrupulosity? Absolutely. That's a great suggestion. So for those, we've got a moral scrupulosity volume 3 coming out probably in 2 weeks, but I think religious scrupulosity is great. I'm gonna toss it to Morgan and Jen actually. Sorry, DeBerg, I'll take any advice on online support groups. I run the OCD support group in Gloucester County, New Jersey, and we must be online now. Thanks. So yeah, absolutely. DeBerg, if you want to email info@iocdf.org and just ask. I know a lot of people who started online support groups by sitting in on other online support groups and just seeing how they model them. There's different ways. John Grayson probably has the largest online support or OCD support group. He does a goals group specifically, but there's a variety of ways. I know Chris could give you a lot of insight on that. So definitely feel free to email. If you have a question for Chris, Jen, or Morgan, email info@iocdf.org. We'll make sure that they get the email and we can answer you and give you some insight into setting up a support group. I also think there's some info online as well about that. So yeah, sorry, I'm just reading. There's a few more questions. I do want to turn to Mino ask, is emetophobia a part of OCD? Chris?
Yeah, so there's certain things like that. There's misophonia where people have the fear of certain sounds. There's emetophobia where people have the fear of throwing up. And the OCD, I feel like the OCD community has kind of taken it under and put it under the OCD and related disorders. The good thing is most people treating emetophobia will use the same treatment techniques as if they're treating other ailments of OCD. I will say one thing about emetophobia is you want to make sure the person treating it understands it, because I've had a lot of clients come to me and they've gone other places and they've been forced to drink something that forces them to throw up. And we always have to remember somebody who's going to go through any kind of treatment needs to be on board. So that's the biggest one that I hear where people come in with kind of horror stories and almost are re-traumatized or triggered, because they'll go sometimes to an eating disorders clinic is maybe where they go first, because what's happening is they're not eating food a lot because there's certain foods that they're afraid of. And so they're losing a lot of weight. And it's not based off of appearance desires. It's more so around the fear of throwing up because of the foods. So they'll go to an eating disorder clinic, and a lot of times they're getting fed stuff or put through stuff that ends up forcing them to throw up. So be careful. But I would say if you're out there looking for treatment for emetophobia, you definitely want to go to an OCD specialist that treats ERP and has some experience with it. We treat it a lot at our clinic, and we see a lot of success with that.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. So we're going to get to the TikTok challenge. I know we started a little late, so we can make up a little time. I do have questions from Morgan, Jen, and Chris, and then we'll get to the TikTok challenge and bring on our special guest. But along those lines, Morgan, what would you like to see more of in terms of advocacy or outreach? Yeah.
That's a huge question. Honestly, since I'm in a rural area right now, if there's ways to have more support groups in rural areas, either by starting one yourself or somehow the bigger cities are training people in smaller cities. I know like BTTI has trainings through the IOCDF to train therapists in treating OCD, but making sure that we're accessing rural areas too, where we need them even more.
Okay, I love that. And it's like, I feel like one of the silver linings of this COVID is we've all like propelled ourselves light years in terms of virtual connection, virtual content. There's no reason why we can't offer support and have support for all of us, no matter where you live, at least virtually, would be ideal. Jen, what about you? What would you like to see more of?
Did you ask something?
Yeah, what would you like in terms of advocacy or support or outreach? What would you like to see more of in terms of like, where do you feel like we're lacking and should do better? I'd like to see faster internet in your area.
I think definitely I want better internet in my area. But besides that, I would like more clinicians properly trained in how to properly treat OCD. Up until recently, I think it was in the last 2 years, the IOCDF actually trained someone in the Ottawa area on the proper treatment, and that was amazing because now we actually have someone that's qualified to treat OCD. But before that, you know, you're going to therapists and that they know some CBT, that they're familiar with RP, but they haven't actually been completely properly trained, and that just makes the process of going through therapy and getting better more challenging if they're not, and can actually make it worse.
It's a great point.
I definitely would like to see that, and that's pretty much my big. And just I think it is getting better, but in my experiences, the wait times to get in to see someone that would be able to help you can be a long time, and that needs to decrease for people as well.
Thank you, Jen. Absolutely agree. Quickly, Jeff said one of our nonprofit partners focuses on rural mental health. We can reach out. We're also doing a series of town halls in July on diversity during Minority Mental Health Month. We are doing that. And also Meenal asked, do you provide online therapy as I'm in India? Actually, if you go to the IOCDF.org page, the IOCDF.org website, there's a resource directory. It is international. You can also email the IOCDF and ask about access to treatment in India. There also are therapists that do practice internationally. I don't know specifically who, but I know that the laws are completely different inside the states and outside the states as in terms of reciprocity. So there are different places to look. Please, Meenal, shoot us an email and we can definitely help you. Chris, final thoughts on same question.
Yeah, the first thing, I really like what Shala nicely is doing in the IOCDF with real OCD. There's a national conversation, an international conversation about OCD, and I really am happy that the IOCDF is trying to jump in front of that conversation. So there's major corporations advertising using OCD in the wrong way. And as soon as we get the public educated on what OCD really is, people will start having much more concern. We'll get more research, et cetera. So that would be first. And we've gotten some companies that used OCD in their advertising in an incorrect manner to change. I would say the second, I've been fortunate enough working in the entertainment industry. I remember I interviewed a contestant on American Idol named Avalon Young who had OCD and Tourette's, and there was a news organization I was working for, and they aired that. I know Lele Pons, someone I interviewed, just came out with OCD as well. So just seeing that merging of kind of like prominent figures and celebrities, et cetera, with OCD and trying to get them more on board so we can get that international attention. And then I would just say lastly, as advocates, I hope we just keep getting the word out. And I really do believe, hopefully in this lifetime, that we'll start treating mental health with the same urgency and understanding that we treat physical health in this country and globally. So those are kind of the three things that I would like to see advocacy go in that direction.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Before we get to TikTok, I just want to thank very much Morgan, Jen, and Chris. These guys work behind the scenes very tirelessly on not only their own projects, but for the IOCDF and their lead ambassador roles. Chris is a new lead ambassador. We're super psyched to have him. He's done obviously extensive work for years and years. Also, Shala Nicely, who could not join us today, is our other lead ambassador. So we will continue to work tirelessly for you in an effort to reduce stigma, to educate, access care, all of the things we can do to help. As always, email us at info@iocdf.org if you have questions for any of us, and we'll make sure to. In fact, we should get like lead ambassador emails, so that way we can email something to note. Thank you for all. So now we're not ending. That was a lie. So now I want you. So now is time. If you submitted a TikTok for the TikTok challenge, we will now be revealing the top 5. We'll be voting live, so everybody stick around for voting. And the winner will get a free online registration to the online conference, which is really, really rad. So without further ado, I would like to bring on our special guest, Elise Petronzio.
Hello.
Hey, Elise.
How are you?
I'm good. TikTok Maven over here. Morgan and Elise are friends. So let me give you some insight into Elise. Elise is a young woman from New Jersey with a passion for TikToks, mental illness, advocacy, and combining the two. She runs a TikTok account primarily focused on raising awareness of and building community around OCD. It's at, Jess, do we have her link for her TikTok? But it's at Elise Zio, so ELISEZIO. She has worked at various nonprofits focused on mental health and has a bachelor's degree in psychology. She's been trying to embrace uncertainty and doubt since she was 9 years old. I love that. That's a great way. I absolutely, I love that. So Elise.
Yes.
So we've created, well, first of all, why is TikTok fun? I'm old. I don't get it. What's going on? Is it an app?
I just love it. So I got onto it during quarantine in April. So I just started like pretty recently still, but I just love the sounds, and I'm amazed by how much you can fit in like a 15-second period. And it's just really fun to like spread important info, but like use someone else's funny audio. So I really like it. I get to act, but not like have to use my voice. So
it's like a really cool way of creative expression.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It sounds a little like Vine, but cooler Vine.
Yeah, I was never really on Vine, but a lot of people say that it's similar to Vine.
Okay. Darcy, Elise is excited to, Elise, Darcy is excited to see you. I love your TikTok. So I don't know, Morgan, Chris, Jen, do you guys use TikTok? Morgan's right now terrified.
But I don't have one. I don't know why. I watch them when other people post them.
Same thing. I watch it. One of my friends, Anna Marie, she was in Camp Rock. She's like, there's like a lot of celebrities now that like redo their like old TV shows. So now she's a little bit older. So she's redoing like Camp Rock and Hannah Montana skits. So I signed on to watch her because I promised her I would. But it's entertaining. I think we can use it for mental health. There's some people that have been growing a following talking about mental health, but mainly it's for people dancing. And I just, it's not my thing. So.
Jen, is TikTok popular in Canada? That's a weird question. Of course, like I'm talking to you like Canada's a different planet.
It's a third world. Like they just got the internet yesterday.
That's probably true. Jen?
I think she's busy making a TikTok. That's
Sorry,
why she
but what did you say?
No, don't talk. She's right there. Just do you use TikTok?
About me making a TikTok?
Jen, just hang tight. We'll be right with you. But we love you dearly. Sorry, your internet's cutting in and out. Okay, so I'm going to keep rolling here because we're going to run out of time. Elise, actually, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, Jen. It's okay. We love you. Seriously, it's all good. Elise, what would you like to see, in the advocacy community, or more of, or what do you think is needed?
I think there's a couple things that I've seen just also from my personal experience and my time at other organizations and things. I definitely think the more voices, the better. Like, as many people, like I know we were saying before that small ways of advocacy are just as important as like large platform advocacy. So I think getting as many people on board as possible in any way, shape, or form. Like, even with the TikToks, I was talking to some of my friends from the conference, and I'm like, what, do you have an idea for a TikTok? Like, I could film you, or like we could do something different, because it's better. Like, if they see another face of someone with OCD, that's better than just seeing me over and over again. And then on a different note completely, I have a co-occurring autoimmune disease, and I think that has been very impactful in my experience with LCD, especially as I got older. So and I think that's an area that's growing in research right now. So I think that would be an interesting part to get more advocacy for as well.
Okay, thank you, Elise. Appreciate it. So without further ado, let's introduce, or Elise, do you want to introduce the top 5 finalists for the TikTok challenge?
Sure. So I know that we have the videos loaded already, and they're just all set together. So we do have our top 5. We tried to go for a variety of different topics. People really approached the contest in a different way, which was really cool. So I think we might as well just let the videos speak for themselves.
All right, pay close attention. We'll be live voting afterwards. Do we not have the sound, Jess?
Yeah.
Minor, hey, Jess, maybe pause it a second, reload the tab with the bottom. When you click, sometimes I forget to click that bottom with audio. Hang tight 1 second. This is clearly Jen's fault.
Darn Canada.
If you want something entertaining to as filler, my tarantula didn't escape, but a cricket did, and my cat's playing with it. So.
Oh my God.
So. Here's your filler.
Yeah, I've got my cat sleeping behind me on the other side of the couch. I was worried he'd wake up and start moving around.
While she's figuring it out, I will say about TikTok, it's the #1 most downloaded app right now, and that's why every celebrity is running to it. So it's kind of taken over, even Snapchat, Instagram, and stuff. So all 4 of us Elise is already on it. The 3 of us need to get on it, become TikTok famous.
Also,
maybe I'll give in because of this.
There are a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists on there who do very informative videos. There's one psychiatrist I like to follow, and she has talked about OCD before. So I feel like I learn a lot from it. It's a really big platform. So while some people are dancing, like a lot of people dance, but like it's so big that I never see the dance videos anymore. It's all mental health stuff now.
Let me see something here. Let me see if I can assist here. let's see here, full screen. Okay, let me see if I can help out Jess, because I know I can share a screen from, still no sound, right? Hang with us, peeps. We'll be right with you. Let's see here. Let me try to do it, Jess. Let me see if this works at all. Let me know if there's sound. Share screen, your entire screen. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put, sorry, I'm talking out loud. I apologize. I'm going to throw this into a Chrome tab. Okay, perfect. And then I am going to, this is how I text solve. I talk to myself. It's fine. It's perfectly normal. Everybody does it. Share audio, TikTok contest. Okay, can everybody see that?
No.
No.
You're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you. Oh, you got, can you add this to the stream, Jess? I think you need to add me to the stream. Yep, there you go. Okay. And I'll play. See if we get sound this way.
This is an OCD girl anthem. Hi, my name is Caroline and I have OCD. Please don't judge this song as it's an ERP. I'm really not concerned with any germs at all, except if you're a boy, then please don't touch my straw. OCD isn't what stereotypes say. We're riddled with compulsions to keep our thoughts at bay. I'm so lucky to have homies that think the same way. We live for reassurance and therapy day. Although life gets hard and every day's a fight, I'm proud of who I am, OCD in spite.
Gone as I planned. When you had to bid adieu, said you'd never love anew. I wondered if I could hold it.
Don't stand so close to me. 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 Don't stand, don't.
No. No, 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 no. Exactly.
All righty. I'll let Jess retake over the stream. Those were your top 5 finalists. I think I picked the wrong video because it was a different Yasmin video that we picked. But oh well, I'm doing the best we can on the fly here. Anyway, so now you're going to want to go to more tech stuff. This is exciting. There you go. At the bottom of the thread, you will see iocdf.org/vote. Copy and paste that into your address bar, and you will
Are
see.
we allowed to vote?
Yeah, you can vote.
I know I was voting right now, and then I was going to ask first too.
Yep, you can absolutely vote. Elise, you can vote. So again, if you go down, if you go all the way down to iocdf.org/vote, you will have 2 minutes to get your vote in, and then we will show the live results.
I just voted, but we shouldn't tell, right? Who we voted for.
Yeah, right. I
No.
wanted to comment. I was like, no, I can't do that.
Jess, should we show, or can we show the live screen voting? This is just like the save in The Voice. This is huge. All right, so we've got Caroline in the lead with OCD Rap Battle of 13. Amanda not just cleaning at 2, and Jennifer with Twilight's in at 2. Yasmin and Sarah are currently not on the board with no votes, but we still love you, and thank you for your support. All right, we have got exactly 1 more minute to go with voting. This is exciting. I want a free online registration.
Well, where was your TikTok, Ethan?
It didn't even get picked as a finalist.
That's sad.
They all were good, DeBerg. Absolutely. No, we appreciate everybody that submitted, not just as a finalist, but everybody's were extremely creative, extremely inventive, brave, all of the things. So thank you. If you submitted it, if you took the time to record a TikTok challenge, we really appreciate it. And we're really grateful.
Awesome.
Yeah, they were all really good.
My responsibility OCD now wants me to vote for Sarah because I feel guilty. So somebody please vote for Sarah. Sorry.
I almost went on and voted for Sarah.
I like Sarah's.
I do too.
I did too.
Well, they were the finalists, so they should all be proud of that.
Absolutely.
They won votes somewhere.
Stay out of my town hall, Jeff. Okay, so 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voting is now closed. Elise, would you like to announce the winner?
It sounds good to me. So it looks like our winner is Caroline with her OCD anthem.
Congratulations, Caroline. You have won a free online conference registration. We will be in touch. I think we have your information. So there's no need to tell. Yeah, we have your info according to my sources. That's correct. Okay, yes, we do have your email. And so we will be in touch. Also, please continue to submit. We are going to use them. We want to use them and integrate them into the online conference. And so, and post on social. So if you haven't made a TikTok yet, you want to make a TikTok, you can go. I think we have these posted. Do we have a place where there's a hashtag? Oh my gosh, I'm so slow right now. But there's a hashtag.
1 million moves.
Yes, thank you. 1 million moves. You can click on it. You can check out all the TikToks that were submitted. Get your ideas. Please continue. Yes, there it is. Hashtag 1 million moves. Check out the TikToks. Make your own. We would love to see them. I know we're a little bit over time. So again, I want to thank Morgan. I want to thank Chris. I want to thank Jen, who's been very still, but we've appreciated her for sure. Jen, thank you. Please, I probably we're no longer friends, but Jen, thank you for letting me pick on you a little bit. You know how much I love you. I'm just waiting for reassurance.
Thank you.
A little bit, Jen? We're good? All right, I'll text you later. But we love Jen, and she's amazing. And finally, Elise, thank you so much for joining us for TikTok. Thank you for your creativity and advocacy. And thank you, Morgan, for connecting us with Elise. And we're glad. Yeah, we can hear you, Jen. Did you want to say anything specifically about me? Okay, then. No, but thank you, Elise. Some quick final housekeeping to wrap this up. I want to thank everybody who joined us today. Thank you for voting. Thank you for watching. Thank you. You guys were awesome on the comment thread. Such great comments. Book recommendations. If you didn't read all the comments, please go through and read them. You guys gave some great information. As always, I want to thank the IOCDF and, of course, Jess behind the scenes for doing her digital voodoo and magic. If you want to see the upcoming our upcoming programming and live streams events, you can always go to the calendar. I don't know if we have an email address link to the calendar, but you can go to the IOCDF website and check out the calendar of live streams for upcoming events. Also, as you see below, online registration is open for the online registration for the online conference that's online. So, I get weird after 90 minutes, I guess. So definitely go to onlineocdconference.org. Check out we really are working tirelessly to bring you a really fantastic conference in light of everything that's going on. There'll be activities, there'll be panels, there'll be Q&As. We're really going to give you as much as we possibly can give you in a virtual space. So definitely go there. If you haven't already and you want to be notified about all the programming the IOCDF is having over the next month, definitely be sure to subscribe and follow on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. You'll be notified when live streams come on. Jen, do you have any final words?
I'd like to apologize for my interest, but other than that, I had a good time speaking with you guys, and I hope everyone just keeps reaching out if they have questions they want to advocate.
Thank you, Jen. Coming to you from the third dimension. We are grateful. Thank you, Jen. We were grateful for you. So thank you for spending your Saturday afternoon with you. Sorry for the technical difficulty. Yeah, right, from the third dimension, known as Canada. Thank you. Thank you for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. Sorry to be a little late and technical difficulty. So thank you for being patient. As always, you can contact the foundation at info@iocdf.org. Ask anything that you want. If you have questions for myself, Morgan, Chris, Elise, or Jen, just put our names in the subject line. Ask your question. They will make sure we get them and we will answer them for you. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay vigilant, feel the feels. Don't let OCD off the